Man, I got a lot to say about this Afghanistan stuff. This Afghanistan
Okay,
stuff
let's go. Let's
crazy.
go. What's your thoughts?
Man, because I was just talking about this with my friend
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just laughing at the insane amount of propaganda that we are seeing right now, where U.S. propaganda is so strong. It actually convinced people that the United States is in Afghanistan for feminist reasons. How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
Yo, look.
The United States is literally allies with warlords that torture women, that used to throw acid in their faces. Max Blumenthal did a cover on this. The idea that we were dropping bombs for feminist reasons. That's why, like, bro, sorry, I had to jump on because I literally just got done with millennials planning. I had to talk about this, and I'm sure you and Ron Pacone talk about that as well. But I have a lot to say because people think that we are expanding this war in Afghanistan for feminist reasons. You are beyond absurd. Beyond absurd.
Yeah.
It's about opium, stupid. It's about the control of resources, stupid. How do you fight for feminism by bombing their sons and their husbands? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, I hijacked your
because look, and maybe I'm being a little kind. I honestly think that Marianne Williamson is deeply just misunderstood on this because she's had some great takes. And I don't want to necessarily like bash her, but I want to tell her, no. Miss Williamson, this is wrong. This is very wrong. I suggest you speak, and this is why I suggested that she speak to other feminists, because we're men. You know, I wanted to speak to other feminists who are correct on this, like Rania Khalek, Killjoy Meg. You know, if you want to talk to Sabrina Salvati, if you want to talk to Afeni, you want to talk to Carrie, you want to talk to Jackie, you want to talk to, you know, our anti-imperialist sisters on the left, because this isn't a good take at all. And now you're giving a certain type of idea to the national security state and to the military industrial complex to stay there because for feminist reasons. Like, no, they're not going to do it for feminist reasons. And you and I both know that.
1 second. Okay, so there's so much to say on the feminist point. And this is why what the take that Marianne Williamson had is so disgusting. And this is probably my weakness because I give people a lot of benefit of the doubt. But her take on Palestine and this take on Afghanistan is horrific because it's based in white supremacy, guys. Because the idea that this is the idea, we, the white society in America, the Western chauvinists, we're going to come into this country and show these savages how to live. We're going to show these savages how to treat their women, even though we don't treat our women well.
Even exactly.
We have 25% of the prison population. We have a police that shoots and kills black people with impunity. But Marianne Williamson is a wealthy white lady. She's a wealthy white woman who legitimately believes that white Western culture is somehow superior. So even though we are responsible for insane crimes against humanity in the Middle East, we are literally responsible for funding the same people that are complicit with human rights against women. So what Marianne Williamson is saying is that, oh, we can bomb for human rights. So what are you calling for? So you realize that we're allies with Saudi Arabia. You know what Saudi Arabia do to their women? They publicly lynched them.
Yeah.
For doing something wrong. That's our ally. But you think we are fighting for the rights of women in Afghanistan? Now there was a poll that was done where it shows that nearly 9 out of 10 Afghans are suffering in that country, and this was in 2019. We've been in that country for years and years and years. So what have we accomplished? We accomplished nothing. So they're using the Taliban escalation right now as justification to expand the war, which I predicted, by the way. Guess who predicted this? Sorry, I knew this was going to happen because you know that the Taliban would have offensive in 2016. They would have offensive in 2014. They would have offensives in 2020. This would have happened. So what's the win? So what's the win condition? You know, it's all the people who claim that we should stay in Afghanistan. They don't have a win condition, right? Has anyone who said we should stay in Afghanistan like, oh, yo, this is why we should stay in Afghanistan because if we do this, we will actually accomplish this goal? No one's saying that. Well, they were saying essentially that we should continue to spend trillions of dollars staying in a war You know why? Because it enriches the military-industrial complex France. That's what this is about. It's not about women. It's about enriching the military-industrial complex. So now let's take what they say to the next level. Let's take it to the next step. Okay, we should stay in Afghanistan. How long? How long should we stay? Should we stay another 2 years? We pull out 2 years, the Taliban do another offensive and take over? So what they were saying is that we should have a permanent occupation of Afghanistan. You understand that, right? So, okay, let's take this to the next level then. If we have a permanent occupation of Afghanistan, we essentially annexing the country. Why not make it a state? Give it to Congress people. Give them a senator. Because that's essentially what you guys are doing.
Exactly.
That's what you guys are saying that we should do. So we spend all this military. This is what they were saying. They said, okay, we're going to train up their military and we're going to train up the government to fight against the Taliban. They don't want to. There's no resistance. So what have we done with all this money? We threw it and gave it away to weapon contractors. Mm-hmm. And people are still believing the Western nonsense that, oh, we're there for feminism. And it's a shame because there's a lot of lefties that talk to Marianne Williamson that's begging her to be better on this issue. They're replying to her tweets, trying to educate her, and she's still doubling down. That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
So,
and my thing is, like, listen, ladies, you know, in the chat, you know, my sisters, I want you all to chime in, especially. And if you can, please educate Mrs. Williamson on this, because the thing is that she is speaking from a very propagandized place. And, you know, because we can say something, like me and Nick can say something, but we're dudes, right? And speaking about feminist issues, it may not be our place. But if you can, please say something, because the thing is that, you know, it's like, no, you're basically making an excuse for imperialism, even though you may not mean it, but you are. And that's very dangerous. And like Ron Placone says earlier, she also has a huge following and people listen to what she has to say. And the thing is that's a very dangerous place you're taking us, because like you said, Nick, I don't want to annex Afghanistan. I want them to have self-determination of the people. And they did have self-determination until the United States and other Western nations came in and tried to do their imperialist BS in that region. And now look at it, you know? And the thing is that, and like Millennial Splaining said earlier in a comment, she said, look at how we treat the women here in the United States. Look at how we treat them. Even if you're a white woman, you're still a second-class citizen. Even if you're a white woman, you do have it better than some, but you're still treated as lesser. And think about black women. Dear God, on the totem pole, on the social totem pole, black women are at the bottom. So the thing is that the United States has absolutely no right to say, oh, we're going in there for the, you know, to help out women when you don't even help the ones you got at home.
This is what they say. This is what the imperialists say. We should do nothing? Are you telling me that we should do nothing about this?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, for the love of God.
Exactly.
For the love of God, do nothing. That's for the love of God. Yes.
Actually helps people better than what we've been doing so far.
It would be definitely better if we do fucking nothing and get the hell out of the country, because we did nothing but make things worse. We have the moral high ground over no one, period. And do you guys know about the Afghan papers? Like, you know that none of these people that talking about the Afghanistan war are talking about the Afghanistan leaks, right? The generals had no idea what they was doing. They didn't have no idea who was the enemy. They was bombing peasants, and then they were saying, oh, there was a jihadist. But then they look into it, they're like, bro, that was just a peasant farmer. They had no idea who their enemy was. These people had the generals, the military generals, were caught lying to Congress. They caught lying to everybody about this war. We have no idea what we were doing. We was probably, and I explained earlier, we was probably not warlords who are responsible for some of the worst acts against women in Afghanistan. You guys understand? And I look this up. I'm gonna pull up the stats here soon so I can read it off. But you gotta understand that ever since that we got involved to Afghanistan, women literacy rates in Afghanistan literally dropped 2 times. Like it's dropped significantly. There are less teachers ever since we got involved in Afghanistan. So ever since we got involved in Afghanistan, things for women got worse, not better. They used to have more teachers before we got there. They had a higher literacy rate. They had more doctors. We got involved. Now they got less. I'm gonna find the numbers. I can back this up for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Johnstone, amazing foreign policy source, one of my absolute favorite people on Twitter. She has an article right now that outlines why you need to stop believing military intervention is good for women. And she outlines all the things that we did to hurt Afghan women and women abroad. But people still believe, oh, United States has good intentions on this. It's beyond absurd. So for the love of God, please stop doing it, because we have mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence to show that this was a failing war effort. The only thing we did was destabilize that country further. We had 20 years to give them a government and give them a defense force against the Taliban, and it fall apart just like that. So what did we spend the money on? What did we spend the money on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's beyond absurd.
Yeah.
The propaganda I am seeing right now, and then people will fall, and people fall for it. Despite all the evidence to the contrary, despite the fact that Afghan papers revealed a massive amount of corruption. And I want to show you guys this. There's also why I'll jump on here, because I didn't have a chance to talk about Afghanistan. But we're going to have on Tuesday, I'm aiming for Tuesday. Actually, I don't want to say the day for sure. But you guys saw my conversation with Dr. Peter Beatty, Dr. Kareem Batesh, and Asal Rod, one of the best foreign policy people I ever talked to for FHO. We're going to have a foreign policy super roundtable. Maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. We're organizing it right now, and we're going to talk about this. But I want to show you guys exactly what the war in Afghanistan was really about, because there's been a lot of evidence towards this, that we literally involved in the drug trade in Afghanistan. Look how this work out. People saying the 20-year Afghanistan achieved nothing or wrong. Look, this is, and then we have literally military people guarding their opium farming. So if you wonder why they want to stay, this is why. And you have people that was like, oh, Joe Biden is pulling out of Afghanistan. No, he was never pulling out of Afghanistan. And people kept repeating that. He privatized it. He was gonna send military private a contractor. He's about to send a lot of money to them. So the idea that Biden was about to pull out of Afghanistan was never true. So what were they gonna do with the private militias? This. And you know why they want to privatize the war in Afghanistan? They wanted to privatize the war in Afghanistan because when you have a privatized force, there's less accountability. So that's actually worse. And you have progressives repeating this. You have progressives like praising Joe Biden. They're like, oh, Joe Biden's pulling out of Afghanistan. This is why we voted for Joe Biden. No, he's privatizing the war, you morons. He pushed back the pullout date longer so they can have reasons to stay, morons. So what they're saying right now, they say, oh, we got to get troops in there to help with the evacuation. This is a mission creep. Because now something else is going to happen, and then they're going to send more troops. I predicted this when Joe Biden said he's going to pull out, and all the progressive morons was praising him. I said, you don't praise him until the deed is done. I said the reason why they pushed back the date, because if Joe Biden wanted to pull out, why not keep Trump's date? They already had a plan in place, and you pushed it back and say we're going to pull out of Afghanistan, but we're going to give it 5 months later. That doesn't make sense. You know why they did that? You know why Biden extended the date? Because he wanted to give a reason why to extend the war. Exactly. Because we knew the Taliban was going to gain ground. We knew the Taliban was going to gain ground. So he put back the deadline that Trump made because he wanted to give him time to do that. You had the media ramping up and manufacturing consent. So I said this on my show. I said, bro, the reason why they extend the date because you're going to have the media going hard to stay in the war. The Taliban going to gain offensive, and then they're going to use the Taliban gaining offensive as a reason to stay in the war. Exactly what we said at Hampton Leftists. This was obvious. This was going to happen. Meanwhile, you had other progressives on other shows like, oh, Joe Biden pulling out of the war in Afghanistan. A lot of people are giving you guys trash analysis. That's a trash analysis to praise Joe Biden when what he was doing is obvious. Yeah. And once again, I don't want to shit on Joe Biden. You got a lot of MAGA people. Sorry, JB. Last point. Sorry, last point. You have a lot of MAGA people like, oh, Joe Biden, he's failing Afghanistan. I thought you guys were for pulling out Afghanistan. It's funny how you guys were MAGA people, Republicans, they were for pulling out Afghanistan when Trump was doing it. Then now Biden was doing it. Like, oh, see, Biden, he's failing the Afghan people. This is why partisan politics sucks. Partisan politics is brainwashed. You guys were for pulling out Afghanistan until the Democrats did it. You guys see how stupid this is? You guys see how stupid partisan politics is?